So just now we have seen the opening of the parotid duct, isn't it? So where is it opening? Behind the upper second molar tooth. Okay. Now you can see this is Netter's atlas picture. You can see these are the molar tooth and this is the second and this is the opening of the parotid duct or the Swenson's duct. So different pictures are here. So the oblique passage of the duct in the buccinator muscle acts as a valve-like mechanism and prevents inflation of the duct during blowing. That means it is well protected when it is passing through the buccinator. What is the action of buccinator? What does it do? It's a whistling muscle, no? It also prevents the accumulation of food into the in the vestibule. Okay. So the duct can be, so this is masseter muscle, right? So we can actually roll over the clenched. Clenched means what? When we do something like tightly, when we are like bringing your teeth tightly and then just feel it, we can do it like that. So that is for surface anatomy in fact. So this is the duct, this is the masseter muscle, it is coursing. Okay. Coming to the blood supply, whatever blood vessels we have seen just now passing through the parotid gland, all those structure, all those branches are supplying the parotid gland. So what are the branches we saw? The temporal,
Superficial temporal artery, maxillary,
okay.
external
So
carotid.
those are the branches of external carotid. Venous drainage also same thing what we have studied. How is the retromandibular vein formed? What are the veins we have seen?
Posterior
Maxillary.
auricular max.
The posterior auricular.
Retromandibular will have anterior
Superficial
and posterior divisions. No, but
maxillary.
I'm asking how is the retromandibular vein formed? Superficial temporal
Maxillary.
and
It has
maxillary.
anterior and posterior divisions. Superficial
I'm
temporal
asking
maxillary.
formation beta, Imad, what happened today? You are confused. I'm asking
Superficial temporal and maxillary.
superficial temporal maxillary, isn't it? Both of them will
Maxillary.
join to form the retromandibular, into which
Yes.
the defacial vein also may drain, isn't it? Then it will have anterior and posterior division, what we have studied. So lymphatic drainage into the parotid group of lymph nodes. From there you will see they go into deep cervical group of lymph nodes. Okay. So superficial and deep group of parotid lymph nodes efferents. That means the parotid lymph nodes are finally draining into jugulodigastric group of deep cervical. Okay. Now coming to nerve supply. Parasympathetic we have, sympathetic we have. Parasympathetic is which nerve for head and neck, thorax and abdomen? This nerve, vagus. This nerve supply we have done in detail, no, when we were doing physiology, GIT, salivary secretions. Parasympathetic and sympathetic. Superior salivatory nucleus, inferior salivatory nucleus. We have done that, isn't it? Okay. So the watery secretions are coming because of the parasympathetic stimulation, and sympathetic gives mucus-rich thick secretions, and it is also vasomotor, controlling the blood vessels. Okay. When you trace this nerve supply, it starts from inferior salivatory nucleus, passes through the glossopharyngeal, ninth cranial nerve. Okay. It forms the tympanic plexus, then it joins the lesser petrosal nerve, then otic ganglion, auriculotemporal nerve, then it supplies the parotid gland. Okay, so this you should remember better, otic ganglion. This flowchart is given in all textbooks, parasympathetic nerve supply. Sensory supply, it's coming from auriculotemporal nerve. Okay, then autonomic is sympathetic, parasympathetic, what I just discussed. Okay. This is animated picture. Coming to the applied aspects, what is the common infection you see in small children?
Mumps.
Mumps.
Very painful. Why the painful? Like when we were discussing like ischiorectal fossa also, I told you wherever the fat is tightly arranged, their pain is more because it cannot expand. Similarly, here investing layer of deep cervical fascia is actually splitting, no, to enclose the parotid gland, forming the false capsule. So if there is any infection in the parotid gland, it cannot swell because of the tight attachment. It is attached to the zygomatic arch, and inside it is attached to the tympanic plate, and the attachment is quite tight. Okay, because of which you will see the parotid gland cannot swell if there is any infection. Despite of that, due to infection, it will be swollen, because of which it will be highly painful. Okay. So retrograde means what? In reverse direction, the bacterial infection, if it is going, it may go like from the mouth through the parotid duct. The infection can go to parotid gland. Okay, that means if any oral infection is there, then also it may lead to mumps or any sort of infections. Okay, then parotid duct is very much superficial, no? Just below the skin. It is running over the masseter, but it is superficial only. That's the reason during any surgical procedures, there is a risk of this duct getting damaged. Okay, parotid neoplasm. Neoplasm means cancers. No? So we should, I told you which nerve we should take care.
Facial nerve.
If we are not taking proper care, then it may lead to Bell's palsy, isn't it? So this already I told you, inflammation, swelling. Now see, there is a condition which is called as Fries syndrome. Okay, what is that? See, a disorder characterized, that means after parotidectomy, whatever facial nerve twigs are there, they may just go and they may get attachment through to the autonomic nervous system, so that whenever the person is eating or chewing the food, because of that sympathetic stimulation, there will be sweating over this skin. Okay, so that is actually called as Fries syndrome, a disorder characterized by recurrent episodes of localized facial flushing. That means sweat is seen over the area of the parotid in response to gustatory stimuli. That means when you are eating something. Okay, this is due to new connection, that is aberrant. That means which is not supposed to be there. Aberrant nerve regeneration after injury. A communication develops between auriculotemporal and greater auricular nerves, such that parasympathetic nerve fibers migrate into cutaneous sympathetic nerves. That means they are supposed to supply parotid gland, but now because of this aberrant development, now they are supplying the skin also, because of which in the skin we have sweat glands. No, the sweat glands will start their secretions, causing the secretion of sweat. Okay, whenever we are eating. So that condition is called Fries syndrome. Okay, then this we have done. So this is one case of mumps, like picture is shown. So the causative agent is paramyxovirus. The incubation period of that virus will be around 2 to 3 weeks. Usually it will be bilateral. That means two sides. Sometimes it can be unilateral. Of course, it's common in children. Always everything is common in children because of their poor immune system, isn't it? So fever will be there, swelling, pain. What is tenderness? Pain on touch is called as tenderness, isn't it? So the complications of mumps is orchitis. What is orchitis? Inflammation of testis, inflammation of ovaries, pancreatitis, and meningoencephalitis. Okay, so all this through blood circulation, the infection can spread to testes, ovaries, pancreas, and also brain. Okay, so that is. See, this is parotid neoplasm. Neoplasm means what? Cancer.
Cancer.
So we have to be, nowadays cancers of parotid gland have become very common in people who use pan, gutka, masala, and all those things, very dangerous to health. Okay, so that is leading to all these cancers, and we should take care not to damage the facial nerve. Okay, so you can see this. This condition is pleomorphic adenoma. Okay, after removal of this cancer, also you will see again it will be recurring only. So in case of parotid tumor, when we feel that mass, it will be hard on touch. The skin also may show ulceration or it may be fixed. Why it is fixed? Because the capsule is there which
Due
will
to the
fix.
unyielding nature. Okay.
Due to the unyielding nature of the parotid fascia. Okay. So examination of external auditory meatus also becomes difficult because the tumor will be like growing. Okay. Always for any cancers, we have to check for regional lymph nodes nearby. What are the nearby lymph nodes we have? Just now I told you parotid lymph nodes, the cervical,
Jugular-digastric.
cervical group of lymph nodes, superficial cervical group, which are palpable. Jugulodigastris are
Okay.
little bit deep. Okay. So we always, if you have like see the lymph nodes are enlarged, we have to suspect for carcinomas. Okay. So through Stenson's duct, basically the salivary secretion should come, no, but in the oral cavity, the person may be showing in the saliva, blood or pus also may be there. Okay, bulging of that pharynx wall was there, no, medially. That soft palate and pharynx also may bulge because of the anteromedial growth of the parotid gland. Okay, so such big lumps also may be seen in case of parotid tumors. Okay, so
What
search.
is this soft palate thing, ma'am? This point, what is that?
This is all parotid gland tumor only, beta. External
No, ma'am,
acoustic
just now
may.
you said something. No, ma'am, like palate and all something.
This one. See,
Hmm.
anteromedially it is related to palate, no?
Yeah, yes, ma'am.
When you recollect the relations.
Yes, ma'am.
Obviously, if the growth is on the medial side, it is that means parotid gland is growing and it is touching the soft palate and lateral pharyngeal wall. Okay,
Okay.
such big
Hmm.
tumors here. So surgery, we have to remove the gland and see that you are not damaging the facial nerve. Okay. Radical parotidectomy, that means removal of entire parotid gland. Anything, whatever we do, we should see that this nerve is preserved. What is this nerve we are seeing here? Facial
Facial.
nerve. And this mechanism of removal is called as piecemeal. You have to remove in small pieces. See that you are not damaging the facial nerve. Okay. So what is parotid abscess? Whenever there is an
Us.
infection, okay, usually there will be pus. That also can be drained by a simple incision. See that we are not damaging. This is quite easy only because parotid, like facial nerve, is not so much superficially situated. Also, no, like just below the superficial lobe, it will be there. Then deeper to that, we have the deep lobes. So this is quite easy only. This syndrome I have just discussed. Okay. So this allography I'll show you with the help of diagrams. So allography means like we are injecting some radioactive dye and we are checking for the ducts. Sometimes in case of parotid tumors or in case of no secretions of salivary juices, the salivary juices may become thick and they may form a stone which can lodge anywhere along the course of the parotid duct. The condition is called as silolithiasis. Okay, this is the main parotid duct, and sometimes there may be lodging of stones. Okay, so that is silolithiasis. Okay, blockage, it is due to thickened salivary secretions. Okay, sometimes the parotid duct may also contain strictures. What do you mean by strictures? If it becomes narrow and if the lumen is becoming closed, okay, then you call it as stricture. Okay. So that's all about the glands, beta. This parotid gland. Hope you understood.
Yes, ma'am.